welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade and I help people reclaim back their power physically, mentally and spiritually through raising their vibration. Now, today is an interesting topic that not many people sort of know about, but it's really important to acknowledge and be aware of, as I have found in my personal life and journey. Once I knew this, it kind of shifted me to a higher vibration and really helped me ultimately raise my frequency. So these are three things that surprisingly lower your vibration. Now, the first one is clothes and jewellery. So to understand this, you need to understand how energy actually works, and everything holds information. This is why when some like powerful psychics can get a necklace, like someone gives them a necklace of belonging to someone, they can know who wore the necklace, who it belongs to, and what they went through just by holding the necklace. This is because they're tapping into the vibration of that necklace, and they're tapping into the information that it holds. Everything holds information. So everything you are, your thoughts, your energy, your traumas, everything that you are has an imprint. It's kind of like it taints everything you touch, everything you wear, especially everything you wear, such as jewellery. Everything has your specific imprint of energy. So if you have worn a particular item of clothing, so a hoodie for example, during a time of your life that you were going through a really hard time, or you were in a really toxic relationship, so any sort of moment of time of your life where you were going through really immense negative pain, suffering, that particular item will have that energy imprinted onto it. So this is why, like, I have found in my life, sometimes I'll put on a jumper or a pair of leggings or anything, and I'll instantly kind of feel a bit down. I'll instantly start to feel the old energy of what I was when I was wearing that particular item of clothing. So it's really important to acknowledge and be aware of what your clothes are, what sort of thoughts and experiences you're going through when you're wearing that particular item of clothes. So obviously it's not practical to throw away all your clothes. So what you can do is you can cleanse them. I mean, if you are a really extreme empath, I would just recommend having a clear out. I mean, I have thrown so many clothes away throughout my life. Sometimes it wouldn't be an item that I wanted to throw away, but I'd done it anyway because I knew if you hold on to it for a good 10 seconds and see how that item makes you feel, if you don't feel pure joy, then chuck it away. Or if you're holding it and some like kind of past traumatic memories come back to you, then that means it's not really good to hold on to. So obviously if it's just like sort of mundane energy that's not too bad, then you can probably just sage it away. So just hold an item of clothes and use sage and get it, all around it. And then just kind of try and imprint new energy into it from a love vibration. And a lot of the time this can help, but if it's something that was really, really traumatic, then I would just chuck it. The same with jewellery. You can with jewellery, actually, especially if it's a crystal, what you can do is obviously cleanse it a lot more easier, so you can put it in the earth. And if it's quite a bad one, I would leave it overnight. Also washing it with salty water. Obviously don't do that with selenite or most crystals that end with "ite" at the end, as that can actually erode them. So don't do that. Even moonstone I think is affected by water. So be careful. Maybe if it's a quick rinse, and that's fine with like some water that you bless or holy water, etc. So just be really cautious of the clothes that you wear. Even with like secondhand stuff and charity clothes, I personally can't wear secondhand clothes because I'm such a potent empath. I pick up on everything like a sponge. If it's secondhand clothes that you know the source, like who actually owns it, and they're like an okay, nice person, then of course that should be fine. But if it's just random clothes or vintage clothes and you don't know who owned it, what they've done when wearing that clothes, it can be quite, it can have an effect on your energy. Most people will probably be okay, unless it was something that was really traumatic that happened when that person was wearing that item of clothing. But if you're not a very, potent empath, then it should be alright just to sort of cleanse it with sage and give it a good wash and just put loving thoughts into it. But if you are, then I would say try to avoid secondhand shops and instead shop at more sort of eco-friendly, sustainable clothing shops. I mean, I also personally avoid places like Primark and any sort of like fast fashion industries, because a lot of the time that clothes was, has come from slave labor. So that will have a very sort of sad, poverty, negative energy imprinted into that clothes, because everything holds information. So to change your clothes, you'll change your life. The second thing is actually your hair. Now again, similar with clothes, your hair basically holds your energy. So this is why you'll see a lot of the time when someone has a nervous breakdown, when someone has just gone through a really turbulent relationship and they've broken up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, a lot of the time you'll see people have a drastic change in cutting their hair really short. I've done this in the past, my mum, you see it all the time. And then once they do this, they don't even know why, but it's like a subconscious thing. Because when you are cutting your hair, after going through a really turbulent, traumatic experience, it gets rid of that energy. So it makes you feel a lot lighter, and that's why you have that sense of feeling refreshed, because your energy is all held in your hair. That's why it can be a beneficial thing, but it can also be a negative thing, depending on basically what you've gone through in your life. This is why Native Americans and loads of psychic witches and clairvoyants would wear their hair super long, because it would actually give them more energy. I'll probably make a whole separate video on like spiritual reasons to have your hair long. But it can be really good to cut your hair if you have gone through any sort of really hard time in your life, definitely, as it is just a really efficient way to get rid of that negative energy, like instantly. Or if you don't want to cut your hair, just cleanse it. Again, you can do like a ritual cleansing spell in the shower to wash your hair, to wash away all the negative energy from it using your intent. You can use like a jar of salted water, because salt is a really efficient way to cleanse negative energy and to actually protect you as well. This is why for me, the most powerful cleansing tool is swimming in an ocean. Like whenever I would feel stressed when I was traveling abroad, as soon as I would dunk my whole body and my head under a nice salty ocean wave, it was like all of it was washed away. I just felt light, or that stress had gone. So if you were privileged enough or lucky enough to have that luxury of living near an ocean, use it to your advantage. Go dunk your head, have a nice swim, and get your whole body immersed in that water, and it will powerfully cleanse you. Because water is a psychic element, remember, it's almost like a gateway. So if you don't have that privilege, like me, who lives in the UK, do it in the shower. So try and mimic the ocean by making your own salty water, just a nice big jug of it. Get nice Epsom salt or Himalayan salt or rock salt, and pour it over your hairs and just let it, cleanse all your body, all your hair. And then of course afterwards you can wash it and condition and do your, usual thing. Also sage in it, so I'd probably sage it first, as sage can have quite a dominant smell. So sage all your hair, sage the top of your crown especially, and then do the cleansing ritual in the bath or shower. So another thing to be cautious of is actually hair extensions, because if you're wearing someone's hair extensions, well, if you're wearing human hair extensions, and I used to for about 4 years ago, that hair again has that energy of whoever hair that is. So it can be a bit turbulent, but again, it depends where it's sourced from, where it's come from, whatever that person was going through, like when they grew that hair from their body. So if you're, again, a very potent, sensitive person, like sensitive empath, I would try and avoid wearing human hair extensions, or at least try to find like a good source, because a lot of the time human hair extensions come from, like, again, really poor people, and they're not paid very much for their hair. It's quite, again, a corrupt industry. So like fast fashion, try and find a reliable source. But again, even then, you can't be really certain. So what you can do is when it arrives, bless the hair. Again, you can do the cleansing ritual to it before you attach it to your head, if you really can't, don't want to go without hair extensions. But honestly, like, since I quit wearing my hair extensions, my hair has got thicker, it's got way more healthy. Or you can use hair extensions where you just clip in, clip out, so they're not sort of stuck to your head like for months on end permanently. Right, the third thing is actually ornaments in your home. Now, this is more linked to occultism knowledge and knowing about things to do with ritual, etc. So basically, I had this happen in my own life, and I had to basically get rid of loads of ornaments and things and items that I actually used to have before moving to another house. I'll explain that story in a future video, as it's a very long story. But basically, what can happen with certain items in a home, again, they can get the energy of what's ever happened in that home imprinted onto them. But in even more severe cases, you can get items that were used in, obviously, rituals, that were used in even satanic rituals, that were used in any sort of like witchcraft or whatever, good and bad, of course. But you need to be very careful what you allow into your home, because what you allow into your space is, in a way, consent. It's kind of like the old, myth, the old folklore thing of like allowing, like, a vampire can't enter your home unless you allow it in, unless you give consent. And it's the same thing with items, ornaments. So I've seen people basically being gifted or bought certain old vintage, like a vintage doll, for example, or an item that used to belong to a witch, or anyone who done some sort of dark ritual abuse with it. And as soon as they've entered their home with that item, it just acts like a curse. This is basically how things actually can get cursed. And that is true. You can actually have items that are full-on cursed, and it's basically because they have been imprinted with such a dark, toxic energy, and that is now their dominant energy, and it's got stuck. Because sometimes energy can just fade away naturally over time, or it becomes less sort of powerful. However, if something has especially been used in ritual abuse or spell casting in a negative way, then that will stick with it probably until it's destroyed. Even then, the energy gets like let out, so you can't even destroy these things. You have to bury them or keep them in a really safe place where their energy won't have an effect on people. Burying them is probably the best way. So you have to be very cautious of what you allow into your home. So again, I don't ever buy old vintage furniture. I don't ever buy anything that's, I don't know where it's come from, sort of thing, the source. Again, if you know where it's come from and it's like from a safe environment and it was definitely not owned by anyone who was really evil or dark or even really sick, like, it's not always to do with evil energy. It can even be like, say, an old armchair that someone died in from a really horrible disease, that energy will be imprinted on that chair. So every time you would sit in that chair, you might suddenly feel a bit nauseous, or you might get anxious. You'll pick up basically on the energy that that chair has been imprinted by the previous owner of it. So the more someone basically is in touch and contact with something, the stronger that energy gets imprinted into that thing. So even me sitting on this chair is like imprinted with my energy. So this is like something to be really aware of when buying any sort of ornaments, especially from places like Egypt or Africa, or any sort of places that sell like ancient, you know, ornaments or statues, especially like anything like that. Even people who hand make things, like again, even with jewelry, if someone has handmade something, but that person is like got very dark energy, a bit of their energy will be imprinted into whatever they create. So again, this can have an impact on you externally. So you have to be really just careful of what you invite in. This is why it's probably why people feel better when they become minimalists, because it's less energy, it's less clutter, because clutter accumulates energy. So that's why, again, I try to keep my home very feng shui. I practice feng shui a lot because I feel it has such a profound impact on my energy. So I just stick with plants, I keep my things simple. So it's very important to obviously be as practical as possible and try not to hoard, because if you hoard loads of things and items, that's basically loads of energy, and that can make you feel a bit cluttered in your mind. You know, external clutter causes internal clutter. So keep things clean, simple. There's a great book that I actually read called The Exorcist Handbook. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's a woman. And basically she was contacted by a family who were having really bad problems with basically poltergeists, and even their children getting attacked. So they called her in to have a look, to kind of see like what was going on, as their children were terrified. They were having, you know, loads of nightmares. But what was really bad is their 4-year-old actually started to get physically ill and was hospitalized, and for no apparent reason. The doctors couldn't even find out like why, when before he'd been a very healthy young boy. So, and obviously arguments started happening as well, and fights between everyone. And this all happened basically after they came back from a holiday from South Africa. And basically the parents had a vast collection of traditional South African masks and statues, as that was what they were into, because they're beautiful, and they, you know, had a whole room filled with these beautiful ornaments and masks. But unfortunately, the latest masks that they added to their edition had really dark entities attached to them, because sometimes entities themselves can actually get stuck or use statues or dolls, or normally things with a face, they will get stuck in it. So it's kind of like a vessel, a cage for them, and they will be very angry, very frustrated, and they'll be constantly emitting you know, just really bad energy wherever they are. And this woman obviously picked up on this, as she's a very good clairvoyant, and she knew that 2 of the masks were used in some sort of hoodoo, you know, voodoo ritual abuse. And this is why it was basically tainting their whole home and having such a dire negative impact on the children, on the parents. And basically it was destroying their lives as soon as they bought it and put it in their home. And she told them, I'm really sorry, but the only thing to do is to get rid of them. You need to send these items back, basically to where they came from, or to some sort of person who will actually use them in the appropriate way, because they want to be used. And basically they were like, no, because they probably spent, you know, they spent a lot of money on them, they were expensive. But eventually she was like, okay, whatever, do it, you know, ignore my advice basically. She left them, you know, to be. However, she got a call about 2 weeks later of them urgently asking for her help again, because the boy, his health has got even worse. to the point where it was life-threatening. So basically they found someone who was able to basically pack up all their collection, the whole collection, and ship it to an African shaman who knew what to do with these ornaments and how to keep them protected and use them in a responsible, safe way. And as soon as they shipped them off and got rid of them, all their problems went away. So be really careful what you buy, especially in these sort of countries, because you don't know where they've come from, who's made them, especially if they're old. You know, items can 100% have hexes and curses on them, or worse, they can even have entities on them, trapped using the doll or, you know, whatever it is as a vessel. This is obviously the same with the Annabelle doll, you know, the film. That was based on a true story. You know, Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously they had a whole museum of items that they kept protected and was had blessed by a priest like every month or so, you know, to keep them safe. Obviously you can't burn them and you can't destroy them, because if they do have an entity, a dark entity that's trapped inside, it releases it and then it can possibly do even more damage. So the best thing to do is to give it to someone who knows how to, you know, keep it protected and how to protect themselves from it, or just bury it and make sure it won't be found anywhere, or put it, you know, in the bottom of a river, and just put it in a safe place basically. So the important thing is to always understand that everything has an energy, everything has a vibration, and don't be, you know, so careless, I suppose, as to just invite everything in to your life and into your home especially. So always be very careful and very picky with what you put on your body, what you bring into your home, and always give off a good vibration of love and appreciation and gratitude to all your crystals, all your ornaments, your clothes, everything, because that naturally will heal and, you know, make the energy of your items better. But of course there are certain limits, and if something is just completely hexed or cursed, that won't work. You will just have to get it out of your space. So I hope this video helps you. Lots and lots of love and light to you. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and I hope to see you again in the future. Lots of love. Ahimsa.